I'm from the Southwest Environmental Health Sciences Center, and this is Risk Assessment, the Miyamada Story. This lesson comes complete with one PowerPoint and one post-presentation activity. The PowerPoint goes into a brief overview of what risk is, an explanation of what the Miyamada story was, and how bioaccumulation and risk assessments played a role in the Miyamada story. So right now we're going to go into a quick review of the PowerPoint presentation and the post-lecture activity. So let me just share my screen. Okay, so this is our presentation. And we chose the Miyamada story because we have a previous activity that goes into more detail of what risk is, entitled Risky Business. But this really gives students the opportunity to see how risk assessments and risk play a role in real life, or in this case, in history. So first we start with the presentation agenda. There's the before you learn, a brief review of risk, because like I said before, we have a separate lesson that goes into a deep review of what risk and risk perception is, and then the importance of what a risk assessment is, how that played a role in the Miyamada story, and then a couple of review questions. This is the before you learn, a couple of questions just to get them thinking, see what they already know about all of these. Brief review of risk and risk perception, the importance of a risk assessment, and finally, the Miyamada story. And lastly, we have these review questions that just go over everything that was talked about in the slide previously to make sure students were listening and kind of let them put it into their own words. And finally, we have a couple of sources to learn more and the sources that we use to create this presentation. And now let's go into the post-lesson activity. So this post-lesson activity puts students in the shoes of a Tucson Health Department professional, and they have to create their own risk assessment for TCE exposure. And TCE is a contaminant that was historically found in water in Arizona. So this is just a way to make it intentional and close to home. For our students, feel free to change it into any kind of contaminant that is common or was common in your area. But it starts off with just what are the health effects of TCE, how likely it is to be exposed through the 3 routes of exposure, a couple of questions, and then we finish it off with putting everything together in this last chart. And that's all we have for risk assessment, the Miyamada story. I hope this helps you and your participants learn a little bit more about why risk assessment is important. So have a great day.